17 entries, 7 levels. This is an iceberg of the most disturbing Twitch streamers. We'll start with streamers that may shock you, but as we go deeper, you won't believe the horrifying things some people have done just for views. Let's start at the very tip of the iceberg. Level 1. Poo Flower. Poo Flower was a pretty famous streamer back in the day for her quirky aesthetics and gaming content. But those streams quickly turned a bit too weird. In the beginning, her videos seemed harmless. She would paint around her eyes and draw strange signs and symbols on her face. Then it became a bit creepy when she started appearing with pentagrams and upside-down crosses on her face. As she read gibberish loudly, it looked like she was summoning a demon. One second she was fine, the next her body language would completely change. Suddenly she'd be laughing like a maniac with a twisted face, and then, just as quick, she'd start wailing.
Keep me from the evil, you're doing a bad job, Jesus, because you're not real.
She would also eat pages from the Bible and pour red paint on herself while talking about cutting people up. Seriously, it was a lot. In those moments, she honestly seemed possessed. No one really knew if it was all an act or if something really was happening with her, but it came off as extremely disturbing. People even started calling her crazy. But the Twitch ban didn't happen until 2017. In one of her rituals, she took her Satanist vibe a step further and went live with a knife. Things took a dark turn when she started playing with it, and at that moment, she did not look like herself at all. It also seemed like she was bleeding from her face, so her viewers got pretty concerned. It was revealed later that both the knife and the blood was fake, but apparently Twitch was not impressed by this prank and suspended her. Trainwrecks TV. Trainwrecks TV, aka Tyler Nicknam, is pretty well known for playing games like World of Warcraft and Fortnite. But let's just say his streaming history has been a bit of a train wreck. Back in November 2017, Tyler was banned by Twitch for 5 days after he went on a rant where he called female streamers derogatory names and accused them of stealing views from other streamers. Talk about skill issues. After the ban, he claimed his rant was aimed at the small percentage of women that exploit themselves for views and money. He also tried to cover it up as satire and later apologized on Twitter. But this was only the beginning of the many questionable things he would do. In October 2018, he made a bunch of remarks during an Overwatch stream. He basically suggested that women are only better at playing supporting characters in video games and drag the team down if they try to play more aggressively. His followers were not happy with this controversial take because such a statement could alienate a significant portion of the gaming community. The most disturbing accusation came when people claimed that Tyler was promoting gambling to kids. Not only did he gamble, but he actively promoted such sites knowing full well how vulnerable his audience was. The troubling part was, he had reportedly gambled billions, which raised questions about where that money came from, and so the whole thing felt extremely predatory. Eventually, Twitch banned gambling streams of roulette and dice games from unlicensed operators, which was a huge blow for streamers like him. After being compromised, he decided it was time to shift to another platform where he could do all that and more. Level 2. Amaranth. Amaranth has a history of getting banned because of her explicit and controversial content. At this point, people have lost count of how many times she was actually suspended from Twitch. The first time she got banned was in September 2019. She was playing with her dog when suddenly a wardrobe malfunction happened and she accidentally flashed her viewers not once, but multiple times. Even accidents have a limit. A few months later, she was live streaming in the gym when her skirt slipped to the side, exposing herself to viewers again. And by this time, Twitch had also figured out that these were probably more than simple mistakes and suspended her account. To no one's surprise, Amaranth then gained thousands of new followers. However, she wasn't very lucky the second time. In March 2020, she was hit with another ban because of inappropriate behavior. No one knew the exact details and circumstances, but many guessed that it was because of a gym stream where she was wearing suggestive clothing and filming people without their permission. This time, she lost hundreds of followers. Then Amaranth got into hot water again. Literally. This was around the same time when the hot tub meta trend was becoming popular on Twitch. Amaranth had started broadcasting from inflatable pools, often wearing flimsy swimwears. While this time she didn't get banned, Twitch demonetized her channel because advertisers weren't thrilled with the content she was putting out. But then, a few years later, things got even more bizarre. In 2025, Amaranth tweeted about being robbed at gunpoint and being covered in blood, which wasn't her own. While she was hospitalized and shared images of the damage, people weren't really buying it. They saw it as a publicity stunt, especially since she used that opportunity to promote her OnlyFans. Also, there were multiple inconsistencies in her story, such as shady security footage and her lack of injuries. Whether the robbery was staged or not, it's pretty clear that Amaranth has thrived on all the attention she's ever gotten. Phantom Lord. Phantom Lord was one of the OG streamers at the time when streaming was starting to take off as a mainstream form of entertainment, but his success story took a major detour with his involvement in CSGO skin gambling. In 2016, Phantom Lord would gamble on CSGO Shuffle, a site that let people bet on matches using virtual skins. A few months later, Twitch banned him due to terms of service violations, but everyone knew what it was about. Turns out, Phantom Lord co-owned CSGO Shuffle, and he was encouraging his audience to gamble there while keeping his ownership a secret. This was a huge breach of trust because he was directly profiting from the site. There were also accusations that he rigged bets to encourage people to gamble more, essentially turning his audience into his personal piggy bank. It was a classic case of using influence for personal gain. The disturbing part was these gambling sites were unregulated, so people could easily get ripped off. Since a lot of kids played CSGO, these gambling sites would often target them. The worst part was, Phantom Lord had tons of kids watching his streams, and he still did what he did. Around the same time, Valve, the guys who made CSGO, started sending cease and desist letters to these gambling sites. Basically, they were telling them to shut down or face the consequences. This put a ton of pressure on Twitch, and that's why it permanently banned Phantom Lord. After he was banned, Phantom Lord sued Twitch, claiming wrongful termination. He briefly won $20,000 on a technicality, but a few months later, Twitch appealed and won. The court decided Twitch's ban was ultimately justified because Phantom Lord was a repeat offender. While Phantom Lord was unbanned in 2021 and went back to streaming, the CSGO Shuffle scandal still hangs over him. Sodapoppin. Sodapoppin has been banned on Twitch a few times for posting explicit content and behaving indecently with a Twitch staff member. But probably the most controversial thing he's ever done is letting his inner racist out. In 2020, he participated in a VR chat stream, after which Twitch suspended him for 24 hours. Turns out the ban was related to inappropriate content that was shown during the stream. Characters were seen in revealing clothes and gimp suits, and some even dressed up as a succubus. There was also an adult-themed dungeon within the VR chat, and let's just say there was a lot going on there. Later, Sodapoppin posted a comedic apology video on YouTube in which he came off a bit too self-absorbed. For 3 minutes, he rambled about his mansion, money, and cashmere.
I love my fans. I love my money. I love my car. I love my cashmere. And I love my mansion.
He claimed that he had not talked to a female for over 2 years, and that pushed him to do what he did.
I haven't seen, touched, or talked to a girl in over 2 years.
But the whole video just seemed like a bad joke. To make it even worse, he ended the video by apologizing to his family and his friend, Veers. Not comfortable saying that word.
I'm sorry to my mom, my brother, my fans, my dogs, my friend Vigors.
Which seems like such an odd choice of words. His racist antics would then show up again after 2 years. In 2022, Twitch banned Sodapoppin for 2 weeks for racism and hate speech. The incident happened while he was playing Are You Smarter Than the Crowd? As he was customizing a character, he painted its entire face dark brown and shouted, "Blackface."
Blackface.
As if he hadn't done enough already, he then also added the exaggerated red lips. Honestly, it was getting worse with each passing second. These exaggerated features have a history of being used to mock black people, so Soda Poppin' doing all that was an extremely poor taste. Some fans tried to defend him by saying he was creating a blackface Mr. Potato Head. But the thing is, he literally blurted out the word blackface, so it didn't look like an accident at all. A few moments later, he realized what he had done and tried to cover it up by saying that he was trying to do Joker. He then picked up a different brush and painted the face green, but by then everyone had seen and heard enough to know better. He later claimed it was unintentional and that he wasn't trying to make a joke, but the apology was too weak to cover up his sick humor. Want more unfiltered deep dives into internet drama? Smash that subscribe button so you never miss when another creator steps way out of line. Level 3. Mitch Jones. Mitch Jones is mostly known for his World of Warcraft and IRL content, but his behavior has been quite questionable for a few years. He's made comments on sensitive topics like gender identity and social justice movements that a lot of people found offensive. In 2017, he was banned for calling one of his viewers a homophobic slur, but apparently the ban had zero impact because in 2019, he did the same thing again. This time, he showed his private messages on stream where he had used a racial slur, and so Twitch suspended his account. But it's not just racism. Mitch has had trouble following rules in general. In 2019, he got banned for streaming while driving. He was in the car with another streamer but kept reading the chats on his phone, which was incredibly reckless. Later, he did admit to being irresponsible, but he also pointed out that other streamers do the same thing without getting punished, as if that makes it better. But then, things became a bit dire when his close friends and acquaintances started coming out against him, and honestly, people believed them. There have been times where Mitch would straight up lose his cool and start yelling at his game or the people in chat, so no one was surprised that other streamers were fed up with him. In 2017, Mitch was sharing a house with Trainwreck's TV, but their relationship was so volatile that Trainwreck publicly accused Mitch of being abusive and toxic. He claimed Mitch would try to sabotage him whenever things were going well for him. A few years later, Mitch got involved in another controversy when he was accused of downplaying an assault. During a live stream, Adriana Lee was physically attacked by another streamer, and instead of supporting her, Mitch talked her out of going public with her allegations. Later, Mitch defended himself by saying he was just trying to mediate the situation, but that's not how people saw it. In 2024, Mitch sparked another controversy when he claimed that Mizkif physically attacked him. Allegedly, he suffered a concussion, a messed up tooth, and needed an artery surgery, but he got a mixed reaction from the public.
Mizkif physically me to the point that I was told I might have to have surgery on one of my arteries.
People were skeptical because of the inconsistencies in the story. Despite Mitch's claims to have a surgery, his doctor's note had no mention of vascular injuries. There was also a huge part missing from the footage of before and after the alleged attack. Deadmau5. In 2019, Joel Zimmerman, aka Deadmau5, got the boot from Twitch after he used a homophobic slur during a live stream. Joel was playing PUBG when a stream sniper targeted him, causing him to snap. In a heated moment, he called the player a sucking stream sniper and added the F word as a homophobic slur. After his outburst, Twitch immediately suspended his account. In protest, he deleted his Twitch account and accused the platform of being unfair to him. He then also posted an apology rant on Reddit, which he later deleted. He was extremely unhappy with the ban and thought Twitch was being totally unfair for suspending him over what he saw as a harmless jab at one annoying player. And so he was being lumped in with actual hate speech and refused to give the standard "I'm not that person" apology. He then put the blame on trolls and that he did not agree with Twitch's policy on who gets to decide what's freedom of expression. Basically, it was a lot of word salad where he did not seem sorry at all. He then probably realized that the apology did not make him look any better and removed it. deadmau5's connection to Twitch goes all the way back to the first TwitchCon, so this whole situation was pretty unexpected. But honestly, leaving Twitch didn't do him any good either. While he tried to make a statement against censorship, he eventually apologized for his outburst, saying his comments were completely offensive. Whether he meant the apology or not, those comments changed the way some people saw him. Level 4. Greek God X. Greek God went from a nobody to a Twitch superstar in a short period. Turns out, his success was short-lived thanks to his misogynist views. Throughout Greek's journey, people noticed a pattern of controversial behavior. His downward spiral began after moving back to England, where he cut ties with his former friends and housemates. But then his online persona also took a sharp turn, and his content became increasingly bizarre. He started diving deep into conspiracy theories, which alienated a lot of his audience. He talked about flat Earth and other fringe topics. It wasn't just casual interest, he seemed genuinely invested, and that rubbed many people the wrong way. One of his first bans came after he made comments on gender identity. But then things got a bit disturbing. He started expressing some problematic opinions about women and what he expects from his future wife.
And this goes to any women who want to date me, especially female streamers that want to date me, okay? If you want to date me, you better believe I will be even if you're streaming, you're going to have to stop streaming. Streaming is ended for you. Your career is done, okay? I will stream while you cook for me and you clean for me and you look after the children while I gain all the money and I give it to you and I give it to our children for a healthy, secure life, okay? That's how I want to run my life.
In one of his infamous rants on stream, he laid out his ideal relationship where the woman quits her job, stays home to cook, clean, and raise the kids while he streams and makes all the money. He then went on to describe a first date scenario where he tells the girl to shut up, then catches a fish to impress her. If she's not so impressed that she's ready to get intimate, then she's for the streets and he's moving on. What a fucking loser. Safe to say, the internet was not impressed, and Greek God was banned on Twitch. As it turned out, Greek had been sucked down the Andrew Tate rabbit hole and would call him the best. Now, anyone who's familiar with Andrew Tate knows that guy is bad news. A man who thinks women are his property is the worst person to give you relationship advice, and that's exactly what happened with Greek. Many streamers initially thought he was just trolling for attention, but then it went on for so long that fans admitted that he might actually believe in all this stuff. It hadn't been a full month when another incident happened that involved an Asian family. In an IRL stream, Greek God was seen making fun of an Asian family by mimicking their accent. After people criticized him, he took to Twitter to clear his position, but honestly, it added fuel to the fire. According to him, it was all a big misunderstanding, and that the family was Greek, not Asian, and then he added that because he also has Asian family members, he couldn't be racist. Sounds like something a racist would say. But even if the family was Greek, he still mocked them in a stereotypical Asian accent and voice, which came off as extremely offensive. Grand Pooh Bear. David Hunt, or more commonly known as Grand Pooh Bear, is one of the top Super Mario Bros. Players in the world. But in 2020, his empire almost crumbled after allegations of unfair play. David's team was at a Twitch Rivals Fall Guys tournament when a clip surfaced showing a player intentionally losing to Dr. Lupo, another streamer from the opposing team. That's when XQC, David's teammate, snapped and decided to stream snipe Dr. Lupo and his teammate. Despite knowing that this was wrong, David didn't stop it, and in fact, helped him eliminate the players. Stream sniping is basically considered cheating, and Twitch was not having it. David was hit with some serious penalties, First, he was banned from all Twitch Rivals events for 6 months. Then he had to give back all the prize money he won from that tournament. And to top it all off, his Twitch account was also suspended for a while. This was a huge financial blow for him. But then, the real disturbing allegations started coming out. In 2021, Dragon Feeney accused him of emotional and physical misconduct. The whole thing started over something trivial. Feeney simply didn't want to play a video game with David, who then got mad and made some comments on his livestream. Feeney felt that he was publicly shaming her for not wanting to play, and that was her tipping point. She then created a whole document filled with pages and screenshots detailing her side of the story. She alleged that back in 2018, David had touched her inappropriately in front of her husband at a speedrunning event. This was not the first time she felt victimized by him. According to her, David also made some really gross comments about her in front of her and her husband. She also accused him of being emotionally manipulative, putting her down in public, and even her. In one incident, Feeney confronted David about cheating in Among Us by using meta-knowledge and making backroom deals. Instead of taking responsibility for his actions, David turned the blame back on her and made her feel like she was the one being unreasonable. That doesn't sound like a guy who learned from his mistakes. In response, David denied ever touching her and said his comments were taken out of context. But by then, his reputation had been irrevocably stained. Asmongold. Asmongold is known to have made a few controversial statements on his channel. Like the time when he announced that he does not wear any deodorant because he wasn't fat, or the time when he revealed that he only showers once a week when his hair starts looking greasy.
I shower, listen guys, I know this might be a surprise, but I shower about once a week.
Yeah, some things are not meant to be shared online. But that was nothing compared to the comments he made in 2024. In one of his live streams, Asmongold went on an anti-Palestinian rant that came off as extremely xenophobic and racist. He basically said that he does not give a fuck about Palestinians dying and that they're terrible people. He even went as far as to claim genocide is baked into their laws, so he doesn't feel sorry now that they are getting genocided. Asmongold's comments were not only tone deaf, they were actually harmful at a time when more than 40,000 Palestinians had already died. Meanwhile, UN experts had also said there were pretty good reasons to call the whole thing a genocide. At least this was something Asmongold did agree with. But honestly, him calling Palestinian culture inferior screamed white supremacy.
These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible.
This all becomes even more disturbing when you realize that almost half of the population in Gaza is under 18. Not caring about children dying in real time? Not cool. One day after his stream, he was banned on Twitch for 14 days for violating the platform's hate speech policies. People were not impressed by Asmongold's lack of empathy, and fellow streamers called him out. The whole thing caused him to step down from his positions at OTK and Starforge Systems. As a reaction to his views, BBNOS also censored him in his official music video, Mary Poppins. Once the video was released, people noticed Asmongold's face covered with a lizard emoji. BBNOS also released a statement saying that at the time of the recording, he was unaware of a certain individual's ethical beliefs, hence the censorship. Asmongold later backtracked on Twitter, saying that no one deserves to have their lives destroyed just because they are regressive. But it seemed more like a face-saving apology. The bottom line is, no one deserves to die, period. Level 5. Dr. Disrespect. Let's just say Dr. Disrespect lived up to his name and has done some pretty shady stuff over the years. But his greatest controversy to date has been his involvement with a minor. Back in 2019, Disrespect was streaming live from E3 when he actually walked into a bathroom and filmed people without their consent, especially minors. He was naturally suspended and his E3 badge was also removed. While Disrespect did apologize after the incident, it would be quickly overshadowed by something far more sinister. In 2020, Disrespect got permanently banned from Twitch, and no one knew why. But in 2024, a former Twitch employee posted a damning revelation. According to him, Disrespect was caught sending explicit messages to a minor and was trying to meet up with her at TwitchCon. Despite deciding to come clean and admit that he did have these casual conversations that sometimes leaned too much in the direction of being inappropriate, he also added that no pictures were shared and no crimes were committed. But since the content of those conversations is unknown, no one really knows what went down. But the fact that he was talking to a minor was enough. And quite frankly, let's remember, this was not the first time he stepped out of line. In 2017, he also admitted to being unfaithful to his wife and took a 2-month hiatus from streaming. So this was pretty on brand for him. After the allegations came out, the response was quite strong. Streamers and YouTubers unfollowed him and told him to get his life together. PackGod even dropped a diss track that went viral, accusing Disrespect of only admitting things because he got caught. Others called him disgusting, and there was no excuse for what he did. Midnight Society, the gaming studio he co-founded, also cut ties with him, and YouTube suspended his channel monetization. But apart from being apparently Disrespect was a racist too. He was then also accused of mocking Chinese accents during his streams as a part of his over-the-top character.
嗱嗱嗱，講話我冇啊，冇唔中冇啊，佢未。驚咩你咩？咁就有冇話咩？
He would belittle players with Asian names or accents by speaking in some weird hybrid language. Jimmy Wong even called him out for doing caricatures of Chinese people, while Disrespect simply called the criticism laughable, as his own wife is multiracial. I mean, that gives him a pass, right? But with the whole texting controversy, the chickens finally came home to roost. It's possible that Disrespect admitted to these allegations because he wanted to take charge of the narrative, but honestly, none of it was a good look for him. XQC. XQC became one of the biggest stars on Twitch for his crazy rants and over-the-top reactions. Over time, he got a bit too lenient with Twitch guidelines and got banned multiple times. But the most shocking allegation came when his ex-girlfriend accused him of physically attacking her. Back when XQC was an Overwatch player for the Dallas Fuel, he got banned for 3 days for mass reporting players who weren't playing well enough. He was then also suspended by Blizzard for ruining matches on purpose. He later admitted he was just way too competitive and needed to take it easy. Perhaps this was his sign to tread more carefully. In 2018, XQC got accused of using homophobic slurs toward an openly gay player and was fined $1,000. But then a few months later, XQC again got in trouble. This time, he had allegedly sent a racist message to Malik, an African-American caster. The message in question was the TryHard7 emote, which is an image of a streamer named TryHex with an excited facial expression. Allegedly, XQC and others used the emote every time Malik came on screen, which was not a good look. XQC was then suspended for 4 Overwatch League matches and fined $4,000. But it seemed like XQC couldn't stay out of trouble for long. In 2020, he received a Twitch ban for showing a nude video game character on stream, and later that year he was banned again for streaming an adult video featuring gorillas. Yeah, he really did that. At this point, things had started to get a little disturbing. In 2023, XQC's ex, Adept, came out with charges of domestic violence and sued him. She described their relationship as physically and mentally abusive, and that XQC once smashed her face into his shoulder, resulting in a concussion. She also blamed XQC's fans and editors for harassment, which cost her sponsorship and viewers. XQC called the claims outrageous and that there was never a singular event where he had physically harmed anyone, ever. He also implied that Adept was fabricating claims to extort him for money. After the initial criminal investigation, the case was closed without conviction. However, Adept later filed another lawsuit in California, the legal proceedings of which are still ongoing. Level 6. Delor. Delor's streaming journey is still considered as one of the most disturbing ones out there. He was banned multiple times because of harming himself, and his rage ultimately destroyed his career. Delor always had an anger problem, and for the longest time he was known mostly for his online tantrums. He even admitted to having an anger management problem. In 2017, he was banned for repeatedly saying a racial slur for almost 30 seconds. The incident happened during a ranked match where his character had just died. Frustrated by his loss, he went on a rampage and hurled a slur at another player like 60 times. That's a lot. It wasn't just a slip of the tongue, and so his contract with Toronto Esports was terminated, while Twitch also suspended his account. Delor did apologize and took responsibility for it to save his streaming career, but it did little to stop what was coming next. 2018 marked the beginning of his rage fests. The more competitive the game was, the more insane his outbursts would be. Every once in a while, he would lose control and start breaking things aggressively. He also started making rage compilation videos of his breakdowns, but anyone watching could see that it was a ticking time bomb. In 2019, Delor was suspended again, and this time it was his offensive comments toward a female player. During a live stream, he called her a bitch and told her to go cook a sandwich. It was both and offensive and was a clear violation of Twitch guidelines. Delor was permanently banned after the incident. Desperate, he then posted a statement on Twitter revealing his battles with bipolar disorder, depression, and his worries about paying bills. It was enough to make Twitch offer him a partnership again, but there was one condition. Delor needed to be respectful for 6 months. But the good behavior only lasted for 2 months before he smashed a keyboard over his head. This time he realized he was in a deep mess, and so he checked himself into a psychiatric hospital for a few days before finally coming back. For a while it seemed all was well, until 2021 when Delor got hacked. His social media was deleted and his bank accounts were drained. On top of it, people kept laughing at him during a live stream, clearly trying to provoke him, which did happen eventually. He had one of his worst mental breakdowns ever. After that, he went offline again to focus on his mental health. A few months later, Delor's house was egged during a live stream and he ended up doxing the guy. Although this time a lot of fans actually felt bad for him, Twitch still slapped him with another ban for exposing someone's private information. While Delor definitely had some unresolved issues, at this stage, his fans strongly believed that he needed to stay far away from social media for the sake of his own mental well-being. Level 7. Carl Reimer. Carl Reimer's career was going great until he brandished a firearm during a live stream. That's when things exploded, literally. Twitch terms of service are super clear. No weapons are allowed on stream. Carl was playing Call of Duty and drinking a beer when he decided it was a good time to show off his firearm. He took out the weapon as a joke and was pretending to threaten someone when suddenly it went off. Luckily, no one was hurt. The bullet tore through a cup, ricocheted, and only destroyed a computer monitor. After the accidental fire, Carl seemed to realize what had just happened. Pretty sure his career flashed before his eyes in that moment. After the stream, his team dropped him immediately, and Twitch also gave him an indefinite suspension for brandishing lethal weapons. In his apology video, Carl seemed visibly ashamed. He admitted that it was the biggest mistake of his life. He also added that he had the weapon for 2 years for personal protection, and that he did empty the chamber before, but a bullet was still left inside. Basically, Carl forgot the #1 safety rule, which is to treat every firearm as loaded. The internet naturally had opinions. People pointed out how handling deadly weapons while drunk is never a good idea. While Carl was fortunate enough to avoid any serious misfortune, flashing a weapon during a live stream is pretty irresponsible, whether you're drunk or not. It sends a terrible message to viewers, especially considering that gaming streams are often watched by minors. Legendary Leah. Legendary Leah is known for playing games like Hearthstone and her variety streaming. Over time, she's curated an online persona where she does whatever she feels like, whether it's playing video games or simply chatting with her fans. But her strategy kind of backfired on her when she started getting a bit too comfortable online. In 2016, she came under heavy fire for saying that children with cancer are supposed to die. Around that time, Leah's streams had begun to include some major drinking sprees. Not that it's a justification for what she said, but mixing booze and live cameras has always been a recipe for disaster. During one such live stream, someone asked Leah to promote a fundraiser link for St. Jude's cancer research. While Leah did give the person a shout out instead of hitting the brakes then and there, instead she went on to say that kids with cancer don't survive anyway.
I'm gonna be honest because I was a bio major and you should listen to me, but children that have cancer are going to die, and they're meant to die.
She said that because she was a bio major, she knows how these things work. So if a child under 10 is getting sick, then genetically there's something wrong with them. The fact that Leah thought about this and then proceeded to say it out loud was both baffling and disgusting. She didn't think twice about how insensitive these comments could be to cancer patients and survivors. And the thing is, kids with cancer do get better and have the chance to live long, healthy lives thanks to all the research. As a bio major, and more importantly, as a human being, she should have acted more responsibly and maybe left that conversation to the actual experts. Leah then ended her embarrassing speech by telling her viewers to go and donate for the sake of research, but honestly, it didn't really matter at that point. People were horrified by her comments and called for her ban on Twitch. Someone even started a petition at change.org to get Legendary Leah off Twitch TV. The petition was started by a person who had been fighting lymphoma for years and called Leah a terrible person. They thought it was high time she got banned since she had a pattern of inappropriate behavior. Instead of apologizing or showing a shred of empathy, Leah decided to act unbothered by the criticism, which made her look even worse. While Twitch did not make an immediate action at the time, they did get their opportunity. A few weeks later, Leah appeared to accidentally flash her private area while streaming. As usual, she seemed a bit drunk, so it's still doubtful if it was an accident or she did it on purpose. In any case, fans were quite furious because no one wants to see explicit images without their consent. Twitch has strict guidelines regarding adult content, so they banned her right away for 30 days. Later, Leah tweeted that she was wearing boy shorts and everybody needed to calm down. Hassan Abi. Within the gaming community, everyone knows Hassan Abi as the guy who is always stirring the pot with his controversial opinions. But mostly it's his performative politics that gets on everyone's nerves. In 2019, while recapping Representative Crenshaw's podcast, he mocked the guy and said that he lost his eye because a soldier messed up his eye hole with their This came off as pretty offensive, especially to soldiers and veterans. Crenshaw had served in Afghanistan in 2012 where he was hit by an IED and lost his eye. And so everyone agreed that mocking a guy like this was in poor taste, no matter your politics. In March 2025, he again got banned from Twitch after saying, "Kill Rick Scott," while talking about Medicaid fraud. A lot of people thought his comments directly promoted violence, and apparently Twitch thought so too. So he got suspended for a few days. He later came out and said that maybe the word he should have used was punished. But Hassan Abi's political opinions have always gotten him in trouble. In 2021, he was banned during a live stream for using the term He then accused Twitch of being cowardly and that they needed to clearly say that they banned him because of anti-white racism. Hassan's argument was that because he's been called the slur a million times, it's okay for him to say it too. But Hassan's virtue signaling came crashing down with some really problematic statements. For instance, you'd imagine a guy like him to have the same energy when it comes to criticizing Chinese imperialism. Instead, he compared Taiwan with the Confederacy and downplayed China's crackdown on human rights in Hong Kong. In one instance, he commented on the China and Tibet conflict during the 50s and that Tibet wasn't all sunshine and roses. He was completely in favor of China's invasion because slavery in Tibet needed to be abolished. Basically, in his head, China did what it did because of their national interests, and that sounded extremely tone-deaf. First of all, Hassan Abi seemed to ignore all the horrifying things China did to Tibet. So while China was doing them a favor, he completely ignored how Tibetan culture was being wiped out. That's a neo-colonial mindset where indigenous people are seen as savages who need someone to save them. When you really start to think about it, Hassan's stance for socialism becomes a joke. There came a time when people realized that maybe he's doing it just for the kicks and views. He's also been called out as a hypocrite as he's all for socialism while he directly benefits from nepotism. Pretending to live by the bare necessities while living in a mansion was not the flex he imagined it to be. Maybe people might start taking him seriously if he didn't cuss every few seconds. Do you agree with Hassan's political commentary? Let us know by leaving a comment. Want to dive even deeper into the dark side of gaming? Don't miss our iceberg of the most disturbing gaming controversies.